Hello out there. This is Jeff Tech P, and this is the first episode, a solo episode of a program or format that we call the podcast stable. I have been in the lab planning to go forward with all of the various productions, and this is one that I noticed I hadn't test drove yet. I look forward to you guys learning more about it. But today I was specifically motivated to come out and share some things about an episode of Yoggnation that I just watched. Shout out Yogi, one of our catalysts here in the community, had a fantastic episode with Staphany Poe that I was not expecting. I really was not expecting to hear the gems that are kind of running through my mind as it relates to that episode. Give me one moment here. I gotta turn on my fan. It's a little warm in my office. Fantastic. We got that done. So we talked about this is the podcast stable. I'll go ahead just for the purpose of branding. Let's run it from the top.
Tech P, a portion in accordance, but it's all anointed. We welcome you to come get a portion. Join us. No more everyday Bron versus Jordan. Jada said the victory comes from the Lord, but we still prepare the horses. Yeah. It's the podcast stable. We got more horsepower.
So on the track there is Cam Kenny, young Cam, also my oldest son. Every time I hear the music that he creates, it actually just it inspires me. I think, of course, that he's extremely talented, and it is a blessing, and I'm grateful for us to be able to have that type of in-house capability to be able to create music. And we also will talk about Mariah Denee today, who is actually joining us at Once Integration, and we'll be debuting her episode and talking more about her role with us this Friday on an episode of Hey Girl with Cameron and Elena. So for today, we wanted to talk about real quick the Staphany Poe of Yoggnation episode. So today I walk into my office. It is the last day of the kids being out of school. I plan to utilize this quiet home and office to be able to connect more with our media productions and host more conversations throughout the day, every day. If you're interested in joining any of those, you can go to www.oneintegration.com, click on Once Integration Media and view the path, or reach out to me directly to be able to be a part of the Once Integration Media production so that you can be seen with your purpose. But I digress. I came into my office in between cooking or cleaning or doing something for my children, and I turned on the Yoggnation episode with Staphany Poe. And what she had to say and what she had to offer right up front in the episode really, really showed that she had a deep level of competence. And then she went on to talk about, really how she leverages that competence and that connection spiritually to help executives and business owners build culture inside of their organizations. What I found most interesting, especially for Once Integration and, kind of how we got to this point, which, if you don't know, if you haven't heard, I was systematically oppressed inside of corporate America over 20 years. There are plenty of people who will see this that were a witness to it. And because of the timing, I would say they did not and could not, and they did not feel compelled to speak up. And so for me and where I come from, shout out ODell, Jordan Weedham Jordans. We got an episode dropping of Tech P What's the What on Friday in what we're calling our TG O2G TGIF segment. So we're going to have 2 episodes drop on Friday, but it's about Oak Cliff Society and who we are as a community. And so growing up in Oak Cliff, we were raised to speak up. and we were raised to make business decisions based off of really a different lens, if you will. It had to be a matter of life or death situation that you were going to allow for someone to cause you not to speak up for yourself is the way that I would say that. And so in my community, it was one of the most fair places around. You didn't run or get yourself into situations where it was life or death unless you were actually dealing in something that would cause those types of engagements. And so for me, I didn't participate in anything like that. And so whenever someone did something that was not right and not aligned with me, I spoke up. And that was not my experience in corporate America. And so in this particular episode, Staphany spoke about how it is time for us, and it's imperative for one to understand that when you don't speak up, that I think she says something like it eats away at you inside. It changes you. It does something to your soul. And I'm not the type to not speak up, but I know anytime that I feel, and I've had to, kind of have these internal dialogues, and I haven't spoke up in every situation. But when I don't, I always wish that I would have. And when I do, I've seen how HR systems, and this is another thing that Staphany spoke of. She talked about HR, whether it was a friend or a function, and she speaks about what the difference is. And so, let me let the cat out the bag. I think we all know they're not your friend, and so I think that there's an evolution that is upon us, and that's the reason why we have tools like the podcast stable, is so that the opportunity to provide a platform for people to be seen is there, and we can accomplish our goals or our purpose in a way that does not allow for that darkness or whatever it was. That's the reason why these people like Dominic, who, when I was there at Dell, there was a guy named Dominic, and he screamed and cursed and did all of these things. And when I spoke up about it, I ended up on a leave of absence, and that led to termination because of the retaliation from me speaking up. And so it's one of those things I became very, very passionate about. Over time, it sent me into a place where there was a lot of pain. However, pain is necessary, and we'll tell this story as well. Pain is necessary to transmute into whether or not you want to become a villain or a hero. And for me, I wanted to be a hero in my own story. But I also wanted to take it a step further and not just be a hero for myself, but I saw a path that if you would think about a solution or ideate on a solution. I'm really big on building solutions. You can ask anyone that I've worked with throughout my career in technology. My ability to dream and put things together has always been really respected. And so I just saw this as a different type of problem, the type of problem where people don't like to do it in the light. They will come out, they will mistreat you, they will gossip about you, they will not afford you opportunities, but they will the whole time be saying something else. And that's, by definition, that's called gaslighting. And that also has a correlation to how one feels isolated later on down the road. And so for me, after giving this some thought and years of working back to try to heal from this, I really felt like the solution was to address isolation. And so what we do at Ontegration is to make sure that no one feels isolated. And so whenever you should feel like the bad guy is doing something and they don't want to say it out loud, you should also feel that you have people here that will answer as soon as you log into Ontegration and say, I need help. We will be there. And the reason why it's built that way is because for years I've been demonstrating here online in my own way, and it's been pretty silent. And so that showed me that the social media landscape had become numb to what people really need. And so For me, everybody that's out there, I don't think there's anyone that would say that Jeff is not a fairly confident person. And so to have thoughts of what would it be like if I'm not here? What would it be like if I were to just take my own life because these people, they won't see me, they don't hear me, they're treating me like I'm not valuable or whatever the case is. I didn't have these words in the moment. I just knew I was feeling, and I knew these thoughts kept coming. And so I took the opportunity to understand, like, hey, this is scripture that says, lean not to your own understanding, but what are you supposed to do with this? And so I was led to go to outpatient therapy to make sure that I understood this as best as I could. And then from there, I began to, again, ideate on solutions. And so isolation is a big problem. Gaslighting is a big problem. Gossiping is a big problem. And these are all low frequency, low emotional IQ types of behaviors. And so we are moving beyond that. We see a bunch of chaos around us. We can't spend our energy not loving one another. It's counterproductive to humanity. And so anytime you feel anything less than a high frequency, which, is joy, love, peace, those types of things, then we want you to have a place to turn. And right now, social media has proven in their own actions that it's not a good place to turn. It's maybe a good place to go turn, play, have some fun, but we have to have a different place where we can go that doesn't have an algorithm, and then that's loaded with resources to make sure that if you're not feeling well, then we're using AI to make sure that we serve up and curate the right types of resources to make sure that you get the human connection you need. We're going to talk and learn and explore, how we leverage these tools around artificial intelligence and those types of things. But that's what the community is about. So Staphany Poe, Yoggnation, the Spirit of Gratitude podcast. Yoggnation is a catalyst inside of our community. So if you join One Integration, log in, and you've got a story to tell, and you have a journey that you're on, and you are seeking purpose, these are the types of platforms and the type of people that we make available. And so let's see what else I want to talk about here today. We talked about O2G TGIF. Just to retouch, if there's anyone that wasn't here in that part of the conversation, this Friday, we're excited we have 2 brand new episodes. One, Tech P What's the What, featuring ODell Jordan, founder of Oak Cliff Society. We're going to be talking about what it means to be from Oak Cliff. There were some people around that I had to tell, hey, look, watch out. I want to let you know I'm from Oak Cliff. And there's always a response from that, and people will tell you what they think about Oak Cliff. And so we're going to talk about what that means. And so what I think more than anything, though, is that it is what I am demonstrating and what I will continue to demonstrate and what we continue to demonstrate. And ODell does a fantastic job of speaking about the spirit of Oak Cliff Society. And then we also have an episode of Hey Girl featuring Mamaste Slane, also known as Cameron McKinney, my lovely wife, and her co-host, the Elena Huffman. They are going to be joined by Mariah, Denee, who is an up-and-coming talent. And I just want to let you know, if you hang on to the end of the episode, she really, really, really delivers a beautiful piece that shows, as I was producing and doing the post-production of it, it really did touch me. So I hope you guys will feel the same. Let us know in the comments once you check it out. And so our Fridays, we're going to start ramping those up. And just like when we were growing up, I forget the station. It used to have TGIF. And so for us, we're doing O2G TGIF on Fridays to bring the community together so that we can actually talk about something that's productive and without an algorithm. That's the goal. So talked about that, talked about Staphany Poe. We talked a little bit about workplaces. We had over there in Hell, also known as Dell Technologies, as I like to refer to it, because it was hell for me. They did have another mass layoff there, and this, I think, will probably mark the fifth or sixth Q3 massacre, as I call it. It's really an unfortunate thing that I notice the way that it triggers me each and every time that I have to experience it, because I know the feeling. For me, it was while I was on leave of absence from them allowing all of these people to target me. Then I got a knock on the door, and that's when I learned that I wouldn't have a job anymore. My livelihood was being taken away from me after I had spoke up. And so each and every time I talk to someone and I share this story, they say, well, I thought that was against the law. And what I would say is, for some reason, corporate America is behaving in a very lawless manner. And so there's a amount of lawlessness that's taking place there. Not to say that things are against the law, but I will say they are not in the best interest of people. I saw on LinkedIn a moment ago, unfortunate, a guy talk about how he had relocated to go work at Dell, been there 4 months, hit 105% of his quota, and boom, he's laid off. And so, the things that they do over there, and the way that they sign managers to NDAs, if you think about it from a human standpoint, they're corrupting the souls of employees and business leaders, or supposed business leaders, by the second. When you tell someone that, hey, look, I'm gonna sign you to this piece of paper, and we're telling you that you have to mislead your team. I don't know that that's been well thought out. And I know that anytime for me, John Knight was my leader over there, and he told me he supported me in all these different things, and through the arbitration process and all those things, it turns out John Knight was not doing and treating me behind the scenes when I was away like he said that he was treating me when I was reporting these things to him. There was a coworker there that I went and I said, you wouldn't believe what he said at lunch to this young lady. And it was, I don't want to repeat it at this time, but it was one of the most vulgar things that you could say. And before I could tell John, he said, thanks for not telling me. And so as a leader, to be in a position to where you lack the courage to actually hear someone out, it wasn't shocking to find out that he wasn't really standing up for me, but he was all that I had. And so, I did process those things, and I'm still processing those things. And one of the ways that you heal from something is you be able to speak and express those things and tell the truth about what the experience was. And so John, he still has a job over there at the trauma factory I reference as hell. And so they're fearless or fearful, or I don't know what the right description of their CEO is. But I would say that he's continued on to lay people off at an astonishing rate. And, I think that, there's a commonality to the lack of success in that business. And it starts at the top with him and Jeff Clark and Jennifer Saavedra, and that whole Bernice Hayes. These are people that will take the time to block you from being able to communicate with them, but they won't take the time to actually change and build a better culture and organization. And these are my opinions, of course, based off of my assessment of the last 5 years straight of Q3 layoffs. And, this is thousands and thousands of people that have been impacted. And so think about the amount of fear that is in that organization based off of what they see, and those leaders that are under NDAs that can't speak. So we should all be praying for them and their souls, and hope that they get some help sometime soon. So let me make sure, and let me also make sure I say this issue we can see now is across the board. We say it's AI or whatever the case is. It is people not being treated fairly. And so I think, for us, we have to decide whether or not we are going to stay static and allow for their changes to impact humanity, or if we will be dynamic and put some strategy behind how we move, so that we can ensure our own success, regardless of whatever the system does. And so that's the vision behind Ontegration in our production. And so we're 20 minutes in. Some of you haven't seen the type of productions I'm talking about. Let me just play this. Why not?
Tech P, a portion in accordance, but it's all anointed. We welcome you to come get a portion. Join us. No more everyday Bron versus Jordan. Jada said the victory comes from the Lord, but we still prepare the horses. Yeah. It's the podcast table. We got more horsepower.
Bottom line, we own our platform, we own our connections, we own our story. And there used to be a time where it was safe to partner with organizations in a certain way. And perhaps that time is still for some. But the majority of people that I speak to, they are operating in a place of ambiguity, and they don't know what the future holds. And so I believe that the future holds your purpose if you pursue it. And so for us, what we want to do is we want to support that. And so, we're working with, I'll just say, from Presidential Medal of Freedom holders. You will see Ontegration supporting global movements, and all the way down to solopreneurs. What we want to make sure of is that isolation is no more, and the right people that are moving with purpose have the right tools. And so I'll stop there. I'll pause there. As I said before, this is the podcast stable. Today was solo. The concept behind the podcast stable is, as more people come into our community and they want to move into their own production lane, then we'll start here having conversations, and then we'll transition away from there. We'll talk tech. We'll talk what's going on in society, in the workplace. We'll talk culture. We'll talk sports here on the podcast stable. Thank you all for all of the comments from the various locations. It does feel different to get reactions. For 5 years, it's been kind of quiet, but today is a new day, and there is no room for fear in the light. One thing I can tell you is, throughout this entire journey, none of those people that decided to treat me a certain type of way. I mean, I'll just say, when I worked over at what was the name of that place? I can't even think of it. It'll come to me in a moment. But I had my pipeline that I went out and found. I had a phone call come to me and said, no, that's going to be going to Staphany. You no longer can get paid on that or work that, even though you identified that. And we just signed. We never had a relationship with that customer. You've been here a couple months. We're going to give that to Staphany. And you go over here and do something else. That's an experience in the sales game that should never happen. But I did have that happen to me. And Staphany gladly took that money and those deals. And she was already one of the biggest sales reps in Dallas. And so, those people, they behave in that way when they think that there's no way for anyone to ever find out the truth. And so we're not going to do those things anymore. We're going to make sure that everybody is treated fairly. And when they're not treated fairly, we're going to give people a platform to be able to show up and tell the truth, leveraging their likeness or an AI likeness. And that's how we're going to use AI responsibly. So for us, we're not afraid of AI. We see it as something that's soulless, and it reflects the soul of the practitioner. And so we'll gladly pick it up and show our soul with our use of AI, which we call responsible use, responsible social. So it's Jeff, the techpreneur for the people. This is the podcast stable. Peace.